Welcome back to a new episode of Coach's Corner, this time girls volleyball edition. I'm Jake Lancer with Aiden Ahuja for HWTV, and today we're joined again by head coach of the girls volleyball program, Natalie Morgan. The Wolverines are in the quarterfinals of the Division II CIF playoffs, and this week take on Aliso Niguel.
Coach, Aliso Niguel is an impressive 20-6. How are you guys preparing for this tough matchup?
Same way we prepare for everything. You know, we're training, we're watching a lot of film, we're talking about our team's strengths and weaknesses today, and then going over the defensive scout tomorrow.
I want to get into Harvard commit Ava Marie Lang. You know, she's had a really impressive season on the court, averaging just over 3 kills per set. But, you know, besides her play on the court, how has she been a leader to some of the younger players off the court also?
Yeah, Ava's journey on our team and in leadership and guiding our team has been really awesome and inspiring to watch for her. She's definitely the gal that a lot of our underclassmen look to kind of set the tone or set the vibe of how they feel in this match, how they feel in this practice. So she has a ton of positive influence to our team in that sense.
Yep.
And going back to the game against J. Sarah, where you guys were up 2 and then you dropped 2 before the 5th, where you guys won. How did you guys beat the momentum and rally to win?
Yeah, the third set was back and forth. It teetered a lot, and there were a couple of swings that we missed opportunities on that could have ended up in a sweep. And then the fourth set, J. Sarah was incredibly dominant, and they did a great job of shutting down our offense. And then in the 5th set, we saw a lot of fire from our 3 seniors, and they really stepped up to pull the team together, not only emotionally, but also physically. They were taking swings that were very indicative of wanting to win that set, and so the rest of the team kind of followed that suit.
Throughout the first 2 games, you know, they've been tight battles. Who's really stepped up and led the team to victory?
Yeah, Ava, Grace, and Avery have been incredible in that and stepping up. It's a really tough position that we're putting them in to not only be, kill leaders, but also be big leaders off the court. So they have definitely stepped up in that sense.
Yeah, you know, winning the Division I championship last year, obviously they have some more experience coming into this year. How has that sort of helped the team?
Helped and hindered, I think. We helped us because we've been there before and we know what it's like to play in late October. Hindered us in a sense that, I think that experience was so great. We had such a very solid foundation of sense of team. And I think we're assuming some things that may not be true for this year. So just trying to take that experience and also note to each other that it's not the same this year. We're going to have to do things a little bit different.
Interesting.
And now that we're in playoffs, what are the most important things that you are preaching and relaying to the team? Yeah,
we talk a lot about the difference between nervous and excited. Those feelings feel very similar, but for high-level athletes, you feel those nerves and you get excited about it, especially with hosting at home. We're really excited to talk about those differences.
You know, we'll talk about the Aliso Niguel game a little bit more in depth, but if you guys are able to beat them, do you have sort of a sense of who you'll play after that in the semifinals?
We do. We have a prediction. Redondo Union is an incredibly tough team.
Yep.
So is Los Alamitos. So yeah, we think we have an idea, but regardless, it'll be a tough team that we play in the semis if we make it there.
Yeah, definitely.
And carrying off of my last question, in the playoffs, how do you make sure that your players are staying motivated and driven to keep going?
Yeah, I think personally, I think in playoffs it's one of the easier times to motivate your players. There's a lot of other external motivation happening around them. However, for us, it's more about us. Excuse me, as a coaching staff, it's more about us helping them focus on the process and not necessarily the product. We're not focused on the win necessarily. We're focused on each individual point, what we're doing in each individual point, and letting the score take care of itself.
You guys have had a pretty tough schedule this year, playing some of the best teams in the nation with Mira Costa, Marymount. I mean, I can keep on going, but basically what I'm trying to ask is how has that tough schedule really prepared your team for a tough postseason?
Yeah. Gosh, who put that schedule together? Gosh, what were they thinking? One of the toughest schedules in the nation. And we are more than battle prepared. So when we see teams on the other side of the net that haven't looked like some of the tough teams that we've been competing against all year, I think it's it's that pre-created pressure for us where like we have an idea of how we want to compete, and then from there it's just a huge challenge to be able to maintain that against teams that you don't necessarily classify in that scheduling that we did earlier on.
And in general, like what changes in practice and what changes in like how you guys prepare for games in playoffs compared to regular season?
I would just say it's much more narrowed. Like in regular season, we're trying to teach a lot. We're trying to teach a lot of different things. Once we get into postseason, we're less concerned about teaching specific skills and more concerned about teaching how to compete or big strategy, big tactics. So that progression throughout the season happens. And then in playoffs, it's just very narrowed of what we're exactly focused on.
And what are you trying to focus on now?
Scout and serve and pass. Those are our like three big things that we do every single day in practice. Is we always serve. We're a very tough serving team, so that's been a huge advantage for us. Passing is always going to be a focus for us. It's one of the hardest skills, if not the hardest skill in volleyball. And then scout. You know, we're very identified to how we want to defend these teams.
Yeah, lastly, sort of going off Aiden's question, in the playoffs, obviously you have a small time frame in between games, not as much time to prepare. How do you try and focus on making Alison Nagel sort of play against your style of play and sort of control the pace instead of adhering to their style?
Yeah, I love this question because that's kind of the beauty of coaching, right? That's the art of coaching. We think it's really important for us to focus on our side of the net. And a big part of that is our wins and losses primarily come from how we play. Do we play up to HW volleyball standards or do we not?
Yeah.
And that can determine a lot of our wins and losses, especially against some other teams. So we do focus on ourselves for, I would say, majority of our practices. And then the defensive scout, the coaching staff is really, really specific about what we want to relay to the team to defend or what we're willing to not relay and give up, because we don't want to overwhelm them with numbers or distributions. And so for us, it's really important that we get really specific about how we're going to defend certain things and then just let the girls go do their thing.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you, Coach, for joining us. This is Jake Lancer and Aiden Nahuja on Coach's Corner. The Wolverines take on Alison Nagel on Wednesday the 26th in their second playoff match. Thank you for tuning in to Coach's Corner.